Hey family, so I just got a question, okay, that I want y'all to just think about, okay? So, first, we gonna go to John, all right, chapter 6, okay, verse 43. It says, Jesus said to them, very truly, I tell you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life. Right? Okay? For my flesh is real food and my blood is real drink. Okay? This is what Jesus says. This is what he's telling us to do in order to have life, in order for him to raise us back up, right? But then God says in Leviticus 17, verse, we just go say 13 and 14, it says, any Israelite or any foreigner residing among you who hunts any animal or bird that may be eaten must be drained out the blood and covered it with earth. Okay, because the life of every creature is in its blood. That is why I have said to the Israelites, you must not eat the blood of any creature, because the life of every creature its is its blood. Anyone who eats it must be cut off. Okay, so we see how God feels about blood. Chapter 17 in Leviticus is about eating. It says eating blood is forbidden. So God tell us not to consume any blood, human or animal, because life is in the blood. Okay. And then Jesus in John 6 tell us, because life is in the blood, that we must drink his in order to have life. Now we thinking, right? Is it circulating? Right? I was just talking about this with the podcast that aired today. Okay, so y'all go check that out. Right. In chapter 17 of the book of Adam and Eve, the second book of Adam and Eve, okay, the devil appeared to Jared as the fathers that have already passed away. So he's pretending to be Adam, Abel, Seth, Canaan, Enos, and Mahalalel, right? Mahalalel is Jared's father. So he had just died, right? He had just died. Jared was 400 years old. So we can just say he he had some time to get to know his own father, Mahalalel. And then who led before him was Canaan. So he got to experience him too. And before Canaan was Enos. So he got to experience him. We gonna say he at least knew Enos, Canaan, and his father Mahalalel, right? We know he didn't meet Abel because Abel died before even Seth was born. Okay, so I don't know if Jared was alive when Seth was ruling. If he was a kid, right? Um, because Seth talked to Mahalalel and and Jared's Mahalal's son. Okay, so he probably was even still alive with Seth, right? So that means he experienced all of them, except for maybe Adam and Abel. So he got to know them. He knew how they act. He knew how important the law was not to mix with the children of Cain. And the devil was so bold to come in and pretend to be them. This is how dumb the devil think we are. This is how dumb he think we are. He pretended to be somebody that Jared knew and came and was like telling him to do opposite of what his father just told him before he died. Like his dad had just literally died and said, don't mix with the children of Cain. That he's going to come back and pretend to be his dad and say, I know I told you not to mix with the children of Cain, but now I'm telling you to go down there and to mix with them. And Jared was like, I'm not going to do anything right now. I'm going to think. Because I know my father and I know what he told me. And you pretending to be my father, but you telling me something different. This is how we gotta look. This is what God is showing me, right? God had already told us something. Then here comes Jesus telling us something different. Like how God told us not to consume blood, and then Jesus telling us to consume blood. You see how it's different? God said not to, Jesus said to do in order to have life. God is like, do you know me? Do you know me enough to say, let me sit here and think? Like Jared did. Jared said, I'm not going to move. I know you saying, because the devil said you can go down to the bottom and mix with Cain's children, or you can come with me into my land. And Jared said, I'm not going to do neither one. I'm going to sit here and think. Because something, he said, it said he wondered at them. Stuff wasn't adding up. Stuff wasn't making sense. Right? So God is showing me with this. I'm telling you, every time I think like, am I going in the right direction? God shows me something different. It's always something, right? Because God can only tell the truth, right? So it's just like, God is like, look at what I said about blood. Now look at what Jesus is saying about blood. God said if anybody consume blood, need to be cut off. But Jesus is telling us to drink blood in order to have life. Do that not sound kind of similar to how the devil was pretending to be from God, right? Pretending to be Jared's ancestors in order to tell him to do something different from what his fathers had told him. Now we have Jesus telling us to do something different from what our Father had told us. And I keep always saying, Deuteronomy 13, it says if a prophet comes and tell you to do something different than what I told you, God said don't listen. It says in Matthew 24, they consider Jesus a prophet. They said it multiple times. I think they also said in John that he's a prophet. Right? So he's a prophet that's coming and he's telling us, he's like, I know long ago this was said that I said this, that God said this, but I'm saying this now. So he's saying opposite of what God said, right? And he's considered a prophet. God said, don't listen. Are you listening? Y'all better pray. Y'all better seek. because the devil is trying to get us.